Hi, my name is Amanda Kong, and I'm one of the pre-health advisors here in the College of Arts and Sciences in Texan Hall. And today we're going to be talking about athletic training prerequisites. So in order to apply to Masters of Athletic Training programs, you must complete, a certain amount of coursework and certain kinds of coursework, right? So this presentation is going to go over the common requirements that will get you eligible to apply to about 80 or 90% of athletic training programs. We'll talk about any requirements that may vary, any highly recommended coursework, as well as the nuances of completing this coursework, and some resources to help you plan your path towards graduation. Okay, so we're going to get started by discussing the common requirements for AT programs. So the thing to remember here is that the common requirements for AT programs are not the same as your major requirements or your university requirements. So just because you are completing the prerequisites for AT programs does not mean that you're going to graduate, right? And vice versa. And you may be doing a major where all of these AT prerequisites are actually just going to be elective credit for you. You may be doing a major where it's all completed and all part of your degree, right? So there are definitely some different paths here, but make sure you understand how these prerequisites are different than what you need for graduation. Okay, so you need 1/4 of general chemistry with labs. That's going to be Chem 221 and Chem 227. Um, you'll see here Chem 222 and 223 in yellow. I'll go ahead and talk about those more towards the end of the slide. You also need 1/4 of general biology with labs, so that's Bio 211. And you'll notice here that there's just one course code, right? So whereas Chem 221 had a separate lab for Chem 227, for Bio 211, the lab is actually embedded within the course. So Bio 211 is actually 5 credits. So think of it as more of a 3-credit course with a 2-credit lab all under one name, right? Versus 4 credits for a lecture and then 2 credits for a lab like chemistry, okay? And then again, ignore Bio 212. We'll talk about it more towards the end of the slide. You need 1/4 of physics. Physics 201 is the lecture, 204 is the lab. Anatomy and physiology, a full year of that. So that's Hyphy 321, 322, 323, and 324, and 325. And then exercise physiology, 1/4 of that, and that's Hyphy 371. And so I would like to pause here and mention that if you are pursuing athletic training, human physiology is a great major for it because between the year of anatomy and physiology and the 1/4 of exercise physiology, that's the entire course sequence for a human phys, right? So that's your entire, 3rd year in the human phys degree. So it is a very efficient degree in that it does capture a lot of these AT prerequisites. You need 1/4 of nutrition, which is Hyphy 105. 1/4 of statistics. Generally, most people are going to be taking Stats 243Z unless you already got credit for it through like your AP score or something like that. If you are a psychology or neuroscience major, you may be taking Psych 302 or Math 425 instead. If you are a biology major and you have not taken AP Stats or Stats 243 yet, highly consider taking Math 425 because it will count as part of your MAPS requirement. However, if you've taken Stats 243, you cannot take Math 425. You need 1/4 of psychology, Psych 201Z or 202Z. 202Z is a social science, core ed. And then medical terminology, Hyphy 211, and scientific investigations in physiology, Hyphy 212. So now let's go ahead and talk about all of these yellow classes, right? So Chem 222, 223, Bio 212, Hyphy 211, and Hyphy 212 are not required for athletic training programs, but they are prerequisites for anatomy and physiology here at UO, right? So you need to take all those classes in order to start in Hyphy 321. So some requirements that vary. Physics lab. Physics lab is not always included. So you might want to do some research and see whether or not you need to take Physics 204. Biomechanics can be another required coursework that can vary. We do have it here as Hyphy 381, but again, I do recommend that you do some research to see if you really need it or not. And then it is highly recommended to volunteer and do shadowing. So as you are completing this coursework, keep these things in mind. You need a C or better required on these courses. They are required to be graded. Pass, no pass is usually not accepted. You can definitely take advantage of first term grade forgiveness, and you can definitely choose to protect your GPA by taking a class pass, no pass, but you will need to retake it for a grade at some point then if you do want to apply to AT programs. Certain prerequisites have expiration dates. So typically, biology and human physiology can expire between 5 and 7 years. So that means you will have need to take it and enter an AT program 5 to 7 years after you've done that first biology or first anatomy and phys class. So again, do your research and double check to see whether or not these AT programs will accept older courses. And then, like I said, AP and IB credit acceptance really varies. Some programs are like, yeah, it's no worries. Some programs are like, well, as long as it's anything except biology. Some programs are like, no, thank you, right? So it is worth it to do some research there. So the general rule of thumb is to follow our common requirements list and do your research, right? You can use the directory in AT each moment to kind of narrow down your school search by region or by application requirement even. There's a lot of different ways to do it. But when you're looking up these classes, you might see some slightly confusing language, right? So we here at UO are at a quarter system, which means 2 quarters equals 1 semester and 3 quarters is a full year or 2 semesters, right? However, if you're looking at schools that are on the semester system, they might be listing these required prerequisites in terms of that semester credit. So how do you navigate that? Well, number one, pull out your calculator, right? So if you see semester credit, so for example, they need 3 semester credits of biochemistry, right? You're going to multiply that number, that semester credit number, by 1.5. So that would technically be 4.5 quarter credits of biochemistry. But we only have 4 credits of biochemistry. What should you do? Number one, I definitely recommend reaching out to these programs. Chances are very likely that they'll just round up, right? If you have 4 credits and they want 4.5, they might be like, you know what, don't even worry about that half credit. But some schools are really strict about it, right? So if you have to take 8 credits in order to get 4.5, they say you need to take the 8 credits. So it is always worth it to do your research and figure out exactly what that school wants and how it works. If for some reason you need to divide your quarter credits and exchange them for semester credits, right? It's the same process, only you do it in reverse. So you're going to divide your quarter credits by 1.5. So for example, this 5 credits of Bio 211 end up being 3.3 semester credits in the long run. Okay, so now that you are more familiar with the prereqs, you can start to begin adding them to your schedule. Stay tuned for another video where Sonia and I will go over some of the tips and tricks to grad planning successfully. But here are some things to keep in mind as you're thinking about that. So number one, we've been talking about prerequisite courses, but please note that these prerequisite courses do not exempt you from the prerequisites here at UO. So for example, everyone knows, or you should know, right, that in order to get into chemistry, you need a little bit of math, right? So some classes may need you to take classes before or concurrently while you're in that class in order to complete it. So for example, Bio 214 needs you to take Chem 223 and Bio 212 before you can go to Bio 214. If you've made a couple of mistakes in your academic career, reflect on that, right? Do you need to retake the class for a C or better, right? And then think about how you're using your summer, right? Are you using it to do more STEM and to complete more prerequisites? Are you thinking about using it to do core ed or to study abroad, right? Again, you can do whatever you like, but it just makes a little bit of a difference when we're planning out what to take, okay? Okay, so once you've watched that grad planning video and you've done a grad plan, what should you do? Well, number one, you can make an appointment with us and come see us and talk about it or talk to your major advisor. I will say that fall is the busiest time of the year for students and advisors. And for my schedule personally, like I don't see a whole lot of vacancies, which is totally fine because again, you can consult with your major advisor or you can send an email to prehealthadvising@uoregon.edu. We can take a look at your questions and reach out and let you know whether or not you need to come in for an appointment, or whether if we can just, answer your questions right then and there, right? You can also send your grad plans in to double check them if you would like that kind of support as well. All right. Thanks everybody for bearing with me through this presentation. I hope that you have a better sense of what needs to get done in order for you to apply to AT programs. Thank you so much, and good luck with the rest of the year.